In today's episode, I'm excited to be talking with Dr. Marc Surprenant. He not only runs a thriving practice, but he's also a coach. And for the past 20 years, he's been helping chiropractors and students and provides advice on practice management and growth. Welcome, Dr. Marc.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm super good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. Hey, do you mind just start off with just sharing your story of how you got started, what you do, and why you do what you do?
Yeah, it's great. So it's funny, and a lot of people know my story, but I had really bad asthma and allergies when I was growing up. 7 years old, got rushed to the hospital. They injected me with something. They sent me home with one of those inhalers, and I was thankful for it because I could breathe again. But my mom didn't know any better than to take me to doctors. And so, of course, the side effects of the inhaler is it started causing headaches. So at 12 years old, I was diagnosed with headaches. I could barely put my football helmet on because the headaches were so bad. They said, "Oh, just give them Tylenol and aspirin." So I started taking tons of Tylenol and aspirin. Of course, that ate a hole in my stomach, and I started having stomach ulcers. By the time I was 17, it was bad enough that my mom, best thing she knew was take me back to the same doctor, and they put me on ulcer medications that then threw off my digestive system. So fast forward to my third year at University of Iowa, I was pre-med, pre-physical therapy. I didn't know exactly the route I was going to go on, but my academic advisor said to me one day, she goes, "Hey, you should go see my chiropractor." And I thought she was crazy because if you're third year pre-med, there's no way in hell you're going to see a chiropractor. And she says, "Listen," she goes, "99% of chiropractors work with neck pain and back pain. They're pretty good with it. But 1%, this is her quote, 1% work with the healing power that God puts inside the body." She goes, "You need to go to that type of chiropractor." And it didn't make sense to me at the time, but I went. Actually, when I got to chiropractic school, this is the first time I went. And when I got there, it was amazing that a student intern started adjusting me and my life was completely changed. Within about 3 or 4 weeks, I started noticing less headaches, less breathing problems. This is all while I was playing rugby for Palmer at the time too. So it's like I started noticing changes, differences, but within 3 months, I came off all four of my medications and really haven't looked back since. 30 years later, I still haven't taken another drug in my body for those problems. I did end up taking 2 Vicodin when I ruptured my Achilles about 12 years ago, but that's because Corona beer was no longer fixing the problem. So there was a time and a place for the stuff, right? So that's how I got into chiropractic. But then during chiropractic school, I really didn't take it seriously enough. I really thought, that it was a good choice and decision for a job. My chiropractor back home had a big house. I really didn't have that much passion for chiropractic. I thought it was cool that I got off my medications, but I didn't really necessarily buy in. And then it was after graduation that I went down to Kansas City, Missouri for 3 years, and I was failing miserably as a chiropractor, and I was bartending 3 nights a week just to make ends meet. And I couldn't figure out how to market. I couldn't figure out if they did come through the door, how to convert them to a patient. And then I didn't know how to keep them. And I didn't know how to get them to pay anything. So all the recipes for all the ingredients for a bad recipe of a chiropractic office is what I landed myself in. And one day, one of the girls I went on a date with, she was a chiropractor and she's driving a Porsche. And here I am driving a 4-door Bonneville hand-me-down from my parents because I'm poor. And she looks at me and she's like, "You are way too charismatic to suck this bad as a chiropractor." And I said, "What am I supposed to do?" And she's like, "Oh, you need to get a coach. You need to get somebody that's going to teach you how to do this stuff." And sure enough, I did. And at the time was CJ Mertz and Waitless Practice. And just putting processes in place and putting marketing in place, like changed my life forever. It completely changed and transformed my life to the point that, 5, 7 years later, when really started cranking, I'm like, man, I want to be able to help chiropractors be able to learn this stuff too, especially those that are struggling or that might not be at the level that they want to be at.
Yeah, well, I know that like in chiropractic school, I mean, it's not business school, it's chiropractic school.
Right.
And so like here you come out not just knowing how to practice, but like you got to also figure out how to run a business. And a lot of
That
people
means,
kind of stumble their way or they kind of figure it out, but then you can also just learn from those who have been there, done that.
yeah, for sure. For sure. No doubt about it.
So seems like you've had a good journey. And so now you're helping others learn.
It's been definitely a fun journey for sure. That's for sure.
Nice, nice. So what would you say that you do differently or that makes you unique compared to others who in the same space doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, from a chiropractic standpoint, just as the practitioner, as the doctor in my office, and what we do at our office is that, we're really focused hardcore on not just getting people out of their aches and pains. And I know that that was a big part of my practice at the beginning because that's what you thought you went to chiropractic school for. But as I dive deeper into the green books, as I dive into the philosophy and the principle, and as I dive in deeper to Reggie Gold and Joseph Strauss and some of the people that have laid the groundwork for us, the more that I understand that It's really about function. And when it's about function, it's not just about getting better function in your body from a standpoint that your neck pain goes away or your headaches go away. Like that's minimal. But what I love from this standpoint is that let's get your body function at the highest level. So, and I have this line that I say to my patients in their report. I say, listen, my job is not just to get you one step further along in function so you get out of your neck pain and back pain and your digestive problems or whatever they're there for. I said, if you want that, there's probably a better chiropractor for you if you just want symptomatic relief. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you achieve the highest level of function to your body. So not only can you get rid of your neck pain, back pain, everything else, not only can you get back to being able to work out, to be able to have the life that you want to do, pick up your grandkids, do whatever you want to do, but you got to be the best version, not the best version. You got to be the actual version that God created you to be. Like you got to be the best dad, the best mom, the best brother, best sister. When you're functioning at 100%, not are you the best version of yourself, but your hormones are balanced. So your sleep's better, energy's better, you're vibrating at a higher level, sex life's better. Everything's better when you're at 100%. And so that's in the space from a chiropractic's perspective. That's where I feel like in our office, that's what patients get when they come in. We're going to give you our best. We're going to say, listen, this is how we get your body back to functioning at the highest level that it possibly can.
Awesome. Awesome. And what do you find most exciting about working with other chiropractors and helping them to understand how to attract chiropractic patients and keep them long term?
It's a great question. I feel like, and I've thought about this a lot in the last 15 years. I feel like my life's purpose, and everybody's got like their job, everybody's got like a life purpose. I feel like my life purpose is to help people realize or achieve or accept what their life purpose is. And so what I mean by that is from a patient standpoint, I love when I see a light bulb go off in somebody's head. And so like from a patient perspective, I love it when I get a chance to teach about the nerve system and how the body was created, how the function works. And I love it when that light bulb goes off in their head. They're like, oh, so taking that Tylenol was just covering up my symptoms and not getting to the root cause of the problem. Yes, there you go. And I should have my spine adjusted for the rest of my life. And I should have my kids and my grandkids. I'm like, yeah, there you go. From a chiropractor's perspective, I think chiropractic is such a blessing to this world. I feel like chiropractors that practice chiropractic still, because there's a lot of chiropractors that don't practice chiropractic anymore. And nothing wrong with it. Like, again, I don't have problems with people selling supplements and nutrition and doing stem cells and doing all this. That stuff's going to be out there, whether it's a chiropractor doing it or not. And what I said at New Beginnings this last weekend when I was speaking on stage, I said, listen, those things are fine. But we need chiropractors because we don't have a ton of chiropractors speaking about the principle of chiropractic. And we can't lose those people getting caught up in doing other things that we could have that chiropractor focusing on chiropractic. And then we can get other people to do the other things, right? And so what I love from a chiropractor's perspective or working with chiropractors is I love it when I can help a chiropractor that fell in love with chiropractic like I did and keep them in love with chiropractic and keep them practicing chiropractic so they can impact thousands and thousands of more lives as opposed to getting so frustrated with their life, getting frustrated with their practice that they're looking for easy way out. And you and I both know there's no really easy way out ever. But if they're struggling in the chiropractic part of it, then they start to look for, gosh, there's got to be an easier way out. Maybe it's this machine. Maybe it's this shiny object. Maybe it's this gimmick. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be something, right?
Yeah, yeah. It just reminds me, what's the phrase? Everywhere you go, there you are.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There it is.
So yeah, I agree. I believe like those are great enhancements or supplements to chiropractic, but not a replacement for it.
Right. Right. And not a replacement for the principle of chiropractic. So the chiropractor has to still be able to teach. And especially if they're good chiropractors that embody that, I want them to be successful in their practice because doing chiropractic, you can be super successful. Only chiropractic. And because we have such a great principle, and if they can be successful just because they put some processes in place and they keep that passion and they're able to educate their patients and get their team on board, man, the sky's the limit. You can do a ton of great things with chiropractic and keep doing chiropractic for the rest of your career too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you even touched on a really good thing there too. Is like you won't or a chiropractor is not going to be able to thrive if they're, let's just say, only great at chiropractic and teaching the principle, but you also need a team and processes to make sure the whole system is functioning at its best.
So true. So true.
What would you say are some of the common challenges that your chiropractor clients face?
I think that there's a couple things right now. I think number one is fully committing to a process, I think is a big one. Like actually saying, okay, here's my day one, here's my day two, here's my new patient on take, here's my conversion method. I think that is a hard thing for chiropractors to stick to sometimes, where they'll kind of jump all over the place. They're trying to make it catered to every single person that comes in. And what that does is it creates incongruencies from front to back, from front desk to the back to the tables and back to the front. And it makes it hard for you to be consistent with care with people. And that's what you need to be. You need to have, and I think and there's another piece of that then. If you have solid procedures, then you're more certain with what you're trying to deliver. And certainty is a big piece of this whole thing then as well. The second thing I think I deal with clients probably more than anything else. So it's definitely a process thing for sure. But the second thing is that just staying in love with the principle of chiropractic. It does take work. The thing is that I think you and I talked about this before we came online. It just, sometimes you just got to work, and if it's for a great cause, it makes it worth it. So I think about I've got 4 daughters and they were all 4 born at home. They've never had a drug or medication in their body their whole life. They're 21. They're 4 girls, by the way. They're 21, 19, 16, and 13. And it's a massive blessing that they've never been on drugs. They don't even know what the inside of a hospital or doctor's office looks like. That's unheard of. And so, but like that little bit of knowledge, like how blessed are we as chiropractors that have been able to have lives like this? The fact that we just kind of take it for granted that not everybody else gets exposed to that. We just think everybody else is exposed to that. We are up against a massive enemy with this medical industrial complex. This thing is massive. And people right now are looking for, we have 0 leaders in this country when it comes to leading people all the way from the top. Obviously, our president's non-existent right now. We don't even know where he is. But like even these next 2 leaders are going to come in. Like we have such a divided country. We don't have leaders. And then when it comes to health, they're even more vacant there. Now you can go listen to a Joe Rogan podcast, or you can go listen to somebody like a Josh Axe and all these people. And there's a lot of great people out there that are teaching health. But having somebody as your leader online is a lot different than having somebody in your community that's taking you alongside. And like, I love that about my patients is that like this new couple just had a brand new baby. I went to their house 3 days after the baby was born to adjust it. And the baby wasn't pooping. I adjusted it. And before I got to the car, she had already posted on Instagram, the chiropractor came and the kid already pooped. Right. And it's like, praise God for that. That's amazing. But here's the thing. I sat with them as their 3rd visit in this week in the office. And since the baby is born, and I sat there, I said, listen, I've had 4 kids. They're pretty much grown right now. Ask me questions, and like to have this young couple that very easily could have eventually went down that medical model because the kid wasn't pooping. They could have given drugs and went down. They know that they have a leader in their community. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to help chiropractors get that certainty and that confidence for is that, listen, you're an authority. You know so much more than the medical doctor down the street does about nutrition. They get 0 nutrition. They get 0 in the physics of the human body, the actual physical part of the human body and the biochemistry. They get 0 on this stuff. They know how to diagnose a symptom and give a drug for that, but they don't know how to get somebody healthy. They know how to cover a symptom, but they don't know how to get somebody healthy. That's probably the 2 big things I'd say for me with working with chiropractic clients. That's certainty. And then of course, processes too.
Yeah, that makes sense. We don't get headaches. We don't get nerve pain because we're low on gabapentin.
Right.
I mean, there's something else going on.
Yeah, it's true. We didn't forget that. God didn't forget to put the aspen tree out behind my house here, right?
What would you say is like maybe one of the biggest processes that you find either docs are lacking or perhaps are just maybe making the biggest impact by when they finally discover or learn perhaps and implement into their practice?
One of the big processes that they're missing is how to take a patient from a pain-based model. So obviously, and even BJ said this, is that symptoms tell a story. Symptoms are there for a reason. And that's the bridge of the gap for us to get to them, right? And what's pretty crazy about is that a lot of chiropractors that want to focus holistic mindseted chiropractic, they are afraid to talk about, aches and pains and stuff like that. But for me, I know one thing is that if somebody does have aches or pains or sickness or disease or whatever it is, that is the body's function getting to a point where it's actually expressing itself as symptoms. There's a problem. And it's that process of taking a patient that comes in and says, I have these headaches. So guy came in today, he's 65 years old, retired school teacher, football coach from Connecticut, moved to South Carolina because he wanted better weather and he's teaching middle school football now. And the guy's got like such extreme migraine headaches and he's got this neck pain. And he's been a chiropractor 40 years ago, but hasn't been since then. And I said to him today, I said, Mike, That's his fake name. I said, Mike, listen, I go, I know that you have these aches and pains, but I go, how's it affecting your life? He goes, I can't sleep. I can't get comfortable when I sleep. It's a problem when I drive. And he goes, it's really hard to concentrate and read at night at the end of the night. And so, like, that's me getting to understand not just what your symptom is. Like, I could ask him, hey, what's going on? Neck pain and headaches. Okay. I could check that off and just say, okay, let's check it out. But I want to actually find out from this guy, how is this affecting your life? And then once I find out how it's affecting his life, I said, listen, I go, you really have three options. And I tell all my patients this. And that's why I tell every patient, I said, everybody has the same three options. Number one, you could go home and do nothing about this problem. And whatever's causing it's going to just keep getting, and they finish my sentence worse. And you could go to a doctor for option two. You can go to a doctor and you can take a drug, you can take a pill, you can get a massage, you can put heat, you can put ice on it, you can put electric stim on it. And if that helped the symptoms go away, whatever's causing us is still going to keep getting worse. Option three is for us to find out the core root or the reason why this is happening to your body. What's breaking down? What's blocking the healing? What's affecting your body that's causing these symptoms? And when I say that, it's like people innately know. And so that transition from this person that came in with the aches and pains to realizing, okay, I am concerned about your aches and pains, but not because of the aches and pains. I'm worried about what's causing this. And so I think that process for a chiropractor, if you can help somebody understand their aches and pains, their problems, whatever it is, that is leading or pointing to something that's causing it, you have to find out the root cause. I think that is a massive piece of the process that chiropractors are sometimes missing and need to implement or get that in place.
It makes sense. I think when you slow down, right, and you bring someone on that journey where I think, like you were saying, like it makes just intuitive sense when you actually stop to think about it for a minute. It's like, okay, yeah, we can treat the symptom or we can fix the root cause. And I think if you actually pause, you're like, well, yeah, I want to fix what's causing the problem, but don't really stop to think through that or understand it in a different way.
And innately, the patient knows that. Like probably 10, 15 years ago, I would get blank stares when I would say those things. It was harder 10, 15 years ago. I would see people that would still fight that. But I really believe in the last, COVID helped out a ton. Okay. Even though we all hated it, don't want to say the C word, it helped out a ton because people took, even the people that took the jab and did all the stuff, they even started saying, this is just not right, you know? And I think people innately just know when I start talking this way. This guy, Mike, he came from my radio show and I said, why'd you come? And he goes, because of everything you say on there. I know that at my core that I don't need to just take another medicine for this problem. I need to do something about it. And so people innately know that, but you have to lead them on that pathway to wake them up though, too. I hate using that. I don't want to say woke. I don't want to say awake. I don't want to say that stuff, but you kind of do have to wake them up.
Awaken, right?
Yes.
But I think it's true. I think there's just been more of it, like an interest and perhaps an even like unconscious like want for something more and more natural and just like, not what we've been doing for these last, what has it been, 70, 80 years since they changed the whole College of Medicine and teaching pharmaceuticals. But, people want like a more natural organic food and people seem to be more interested in taking action around those things.
For sure.
I think the time is right.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Awesome. What other actionable insights or tips could you share with our chiropractic community who maybe don't even know what they don't know about, say, attracting long-term patients?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. Long-term patients. I think everybody that comes to the front door is help me. Very rarely do I get people that come in and say, hey, I'm here because I want to get care for the rest of my life. That never happens. Every now and again, I'll have a family that moves from another part of the country and says, I was seeing a chiropractor that knows you and they said to come here and I'm ready to get here for the rest of my life. Here's my credit card. We're going to be here until we move or die. That very rarely happens. I honestly think for those lifetime patients, I'm a big fan of volume. I'm a big fan of seeing as many people as you possibly can. I'm a big fan of putting people through the screening process of what you want. Some chiropractors, they want to have higher PVA. They want to have higher collections per visit. They want to have more that they're collecting per visit they have. And they have maybe a smaller vision for their practice, maybe less families. For me, it's the opposite. I want to see more families. I want to see, and I don't want to collect less per visit, but I'm okay having family plans. And because if you're going to, this is a great question. If you're going to get somebody long-term to your office. So I've been in this office in Charlotte now for 20 years. We've got a good amount of patients probably 30 to 35 patients that have been with us since the beginning. And that's a lot. And it's fun because they come in on Monday afternoons after 5 o'clock. Still, it's like they all came at the same time. Now, how do we get that? Well, and I've got probably a billion people that have quit between that time too, right? So I have all versions of this because we see a lot of new patients. But what I do from the beginning is if you want to see long term lifetime patients, you've got to tell them that from the beginning. You can't surprise them. You can't just come in and say, hey, look, your spine's supposed to look like this. Yours looks like this. You're in trouble. You need to sign up for care. You can sign them up for that. But if their spine gets better, if it stays worse, they're leaving. If it gets better, they're leaving because they think the end game is this. But if you're talking to them about function and about how we're constantly exposed to traumas, thoughts, and toxins in our world that bring stress upon us, and our body inability to be able to adapt to that is what causes subluxation. So even as we're correcting your subluxation to get you to a point where you don't have this particular symptom anymore, we still have to work on creating the best function for your body really for the rest of your life. And some people will question that and they'll be like, well, why? Can't you just fix it and I can be done? You can also just eat well for 1 month and stop eating well. Is that going to work? Or working out, same thing. You can work out well for a month and then stop. At the end of the day, it still has to come down to habits. And so with my patients, the ones that I want for longer term, and this is for everybody, because I would rather somebody say, I'm going to go see another chiropractor right from the beginning if they just wanted to come for 3 or 4 or 5 visits. And I'll tell them that. And I don't mean any offense to that. I just want them to know this is what we do. But then even if I say, hey, look, we're really shooting for lifetime care here. Not all those people are going to go lifetime care, but they're going to go further than they would have had I just said, come until your aches and pains are gone. Right. So that's my whole goal, is just trying to educate from the beginning, because you can't change the rules halfway through a care plan. You can't say, hey, we're going to fix your aches and pains, and then their aches and pains go away. And then you're going to be like, oh, great. By the way, you should come once a week for the rest of your life, or once a month, or whatever your number is. You can't change the rules at that point in time. And so that's why I'm a big fan of Reggie and Joe Strauss, is because they were always talking about, and really Sherman College is, I'm taking 2 diplomate classes. I took an ACP, which is a chiropractic philosopher program that I took last year. And then I'm taking DACP, which is a diplomate. And what I love about that is that they challenge you from a standpoint of, it's like, listen, we're not adjusting somebody to reduce aches and pains. We're adjusting somebody so that they can have the highest level of function. Now, if you're talking about function, now all of a sudden that means that, okay, this is something that how long do you want to function well for? And everybody knows, for the rest of my life, right? I had this little old lady say to me, I do this thing where I say, you're at 0% or 100%. At 0%, you're dead. At 100%, everything's working really well. Once we get you to 100% or close to, how long do we want you to be there? And she said, looks at me and she goes, until Jesus comes home. I'm like, yeah, somewhere in that range, right? And I'm in the South, so of course somebody's going to answer that way. And so that's the ultimate goal, is you've got to tell them the story congruently from the beginning to end. Otherwise, they're going to see through it. They're going to call you on it.
It makes sense. And so it sounds like you're having a conversation, right? Like, how long do you want this to go on? But then at the same time, I heard you say care plan, a corrective care plan. So there's also some sort of bridge in between of like where they're at and then that end vision.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Awesome. All right. Well, just switching gears a little bit, how do you see things progressing in the near future for chiropractors?
Oh gosh. I had some good conversations this week. So I've been to a couple different conferences. I spoke at New Beginnings this last week, and I've been there a few times. I'd never been to Mile High. That was good to see and meet new chiropractors I haven't met that are outside of my circle of influence that I've had before. Been to a lot of Max Living seminars. But I think here's what I'm seeing. And I turned 50 this year, so I'm kind of having that, okay, what do I do with the rest of my life here type thing. And I had a good friend pass away a few weeks ago, TJ Osborne, just a great chiropractor, great doctor. And he died at 54 years old. And you start to think about like, okay, I'd never thought about that there's mortality here. I've never really thought about it. I just ignore it, whatever, push it and whatever. And I'm starting to think now, I'm like, okay, what's the legacy here? Not legacy because I want people to be proud of my life or anything like that. I'm like, what is my purpose for being down here for the rest of this time? And I feel like right now, and I haven't really expressed this too much to too many people because I'm just kind of going through a year of change and kind of trying to keep it quiet, not talk too much about it. So I'll be very vague here. I feel like in chiropractic, we have these silos, and you probably see it because you're on the circuit, you know people, you know different chiropractors. We have these silos. You have coaching group silo, you got this coaching group silo, you got this college silo, you got this college silo, you got this type of philosophy silo, you've got mixers, you've got straights, you got all these silos. And it's like we're so fractionated. And I don't feel like there's anybody out there that's really being an advocate to raise all boats and to maybe break down some of those silos and to be able to say, I mean, imagine if as one voice, we're never going to agree on how to practice. There's no chance. We're never going to agree on philosophy. We're never going to agree on the delivery of the principle from a verbal standpoint or from a hands adjusting standpoint, with a tool, without a tool, modalities, no modalities, stem cell, all the stuff. We're just never going to agree. There's just zero chance. Even within groups of those silos, it's impossible to get people in those silos to agree on the same thing. So it's like, how in the world do we think we're going to be able to? We're not. So what we need to figure out is like, how do we get something that we all can agree upon, or how can we improve even the word or terminology of chiropractic and what it is in general? And I don't know what it looks like. I honestly really don't. That's my question I'm asking myself this year. I feel like that's something that we have to figure out is how do we not come together to look the same and practice all the same, but how do we lift all chiropractic up without beating each other down? I think that's one of the things that we have to realize is that we don't have to beat somebody else down to ascend. I feel like we can all ascend together, but it's really, really hard because we're so used to, and I think it's human nature though too, is that it's easier to put a foot on somebody to try to step up than it is to say, hey, look, let's try to go together, even though we disagree on a lot of stuff.
Right, right. Well, and it even as you were talking about those, I guess, differences, the silos, but also like how do we where's that unifying right voice or unifying vision or whatnot? But I even see like or I've seen where there's chiropractic versus chiropractor. It's like there's even like this philosophical differences, I guess. One of our clients told us like chiropractors are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
You don't, you really don't, even within those silos. I'm telling you, even I've been in those silos. I've been in those different coaching groups. I've seen it. I've talked to people. I've been around long enough and I've gone to enough seminars to talk to different people in different ways. It's like, it is true. You don't know what you're going to get. But if we can find a way to unify and say, hey, this is what I do know you're going to get. You're not going to get medicine, but we also don't want to focus on what we're not going to get. We want to focus on what are we going to try to do? We're going to try to improve I'm just spitball. We're going to try to get your body functioning at the highest level that possibly can. I think a broader scope of something that we all can agree upon without having to step into, I don't know what it is yet, but like I said, I think that's where we have to start to realize that we can't just keep stepping on each other, putting each other down.
No, for sure. I want to stay plugged in to as you develop your vision for what that might be, because it just feels like there's got to be something underlying, right? That all chiropractors believe in, and I think there's probably a what's the word like a unifying theory, right? That I think everyone could rally behind.
We could probably model after the politics of this country because it seems like we're pretty unified from politics aspect of this, right? There's no division in that.
Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
All right, awesome. Well, I want to stay plugged into
Yeah.
as you continue to develop your not message, but again your vision and whatever that may turn into. But before we sign off, do you have any final advice that you'd like to share with the chiropractic community? Maybe anything we might have missed? And also tell everyone, of course, the best way to connect with you.
Yeah, I love it. So, one of the things I'll say to the chiropractic community is that, and I spoke about this at New Beginnings this weekend. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity talks about how you don't just wake up one day and not believe in Jesus if you believed in Jesus one day. What C.S. Lewis talks about is that there's a slow fading away. And so what happens is that if you believed in Jesus at one point in time and you went to church, you prayed, you read the Bible, you got together with other people that are believers, it helped you stay in that. And so I talked about to these chiropractors this weekend, I said, it's the same thing when I coach chiropractors is that I see chiropractors that were like fully bought in and like love chiropractic and had this heart, had this passion. And what ends up happening is they get disconnected and they don't just wake up one day and say, I don't believe in chiropractic anymore. But what happens is they have this slow fade away. They stop going to seminars. They stop reading the green books. They stop communicating with chiropractors and they stop getting into what they fell in love with chiropractic, stop reading their own testimonials and the stuff that they've delivered to people. And so I would say that the chiropractic community, that's it. You got to find a way of how did you get passionate about this thing in the first place? Got to get around passionate chiropractors. You've got to read the green books. You just got to dive into this stuff on a regular basis. Also get some mentoring, get a coach. Some coaching programs, they're massive. Some are a little bit more simple. It doesn't matter. For me, I have a handful of clients. And right now, at this stage of my life, because I'm trying to form this bigger vision, I'm not taking a lot right now. But write down my email. My email is docsoup at gmail.com, DOCSOOP at gmail.com. If you want to email me, email me. I think I sent over the link to my newsletter too to you as well, right? So there's a newsletter that I put out weekly, sometimes twice a week. And it's all about this. It's about processes and procedures. It's about passion and it's about green book stuff. And so like and I try to be fun with it because I want to make chiropractic fun. I don't want to just be boring. And actually gotten some great response. So, it's been fun because it's just given me an outlet to keep my knowledge that I have getting out there. And from there, you can always book a call with me. Everybody has a chance to book a discovery call with me. And the discovery call, there's no charge for that. Let me find out. Here's my biggest thing I love doing on discovery calls. You're going to love this, Sebastian, is that all I want to know, and I spent a good period of my time being a coach from an ego standpoint saying, hey, you should just want this. I don't want to do that anymore in my life. I want to know, where are you at? And this is what the discovery call is. Where are you at right now? Like really, like let's take a look. And for some people, that's the hardest part because they don't look at their own stats. They don't look at their happiness. They don't look at where are you at and where do you want to go? And then we start to look at, okay, if this is where you want to go, this is where you're at. Let's find the steps to get you there. So that's what my discovery call is. Some people would be a good fit to work with me because I'm a big accountability guy. I'm a submit your stats to me every single week. My clients that I have right now, I'm on them. If they don't submit their stats, I'm all over them. I want your stats and I want your action steps for the week. And I'm going to follow up and I'm going to be all over your ass. Are you following through with this? Because sometimes you just need somebody to kick you in the ass a little bit. So yeah, that's it.
We all could use that here and there. No, but it's true. I mean, like you can't improve what you don't measure. So, that stuff, the stats, right? The boring stuff is so helpful just to know where you're at. I mean, how do you know what direction to take of where you're going if you don't know where you're at right now?
Zero clue, right? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, this has been a great call. I would want to subscribe to your newsletter myself just
Get on it.
to hear what you have to say. But truly, thank you so much for sharing your insights today with Dr. Mark. We'll make sure to link to your website, let people sign up to your newsletter in case anyone wants to take a closer look at that or anything else we covered today. They'll all be available at chiropracticeinsights.com.
Sebastian, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate your heart for chiropractic. I just love it. I wish more chiropractors had the heart that you have right now to want to get this message out there. I love that you're trying to get this passionately out there because you see a benefit to chiropractic, and like there's a lot of chiropractors that don't have that kind of passion trying to get chiropractic out there. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you, Dr. Mark. Thank you again.
Thanks, bud.